Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name's Emma LaFave, and today we're going to be doing a really fun greenery loose leaf piece that's going to be great practice. So let's jump in and get started. Okay, so today we're going to be doing a really fun loose leaf greenery piece. I'm going to be painting in my Etcher Lab cold press watercolor sketchbook. I've taped it off with painter's tape to get a border, and I've also clamped it down. I probably suggest doing this on a loose piece of paper and taping it either to your desk or like some sort of board, because we're going to be wetting up the whole background and doing a lot of wet on wet. So if your paper might warp a bit. So this is what I'm using, but I definitely suggest you tape it down or use a watercolor block. I have my Winsor Newton Professional watercolors here. I have a wash, like a flat wash brush, and then I'm going to be using some fun dagger brushes and probably my round brushes as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to wet up my paints. And then I'm going to start by taking my flat wash brush and I'm just going to apply water to the whole background. So whenever you're doing wet on wet, the ideal amount of water you want to have is that if you were to tilt your paper to the side, you would see this light shine on it called a sheen, but you wouldn't have dripping areas or pooling areas. So if you tilt it, you're not going to have all water pooling to one side. You just have this nice shine over the whole area. It's hard to see with mine on camera, but you want to make sure it's nice and wet. If you are living in a hotter climate or just your space where you're painting seems to dry really fast, that happens. Don't worry too much about it. Maybe work on a smaller piece of paper so you don't feel like, you have to wet up this whole piece of paper and use it immediately. Just kind of play around. Okay. So while I'm wetting it up, you know what? I'm just going to grab some greens and I'm just going to start slapping it on there. So this piece actually was inspired by a painting that I did that did not turn out. And then I left it in my office for days and days and days. And I was just like, ugh, this thing is so annoying. And I did nothing with it. I'm just going to mix up some greens, use some different greens here. I have an olive green, sap green. And then like a few weeks went by and I just picked it up and I just started painting over it. And it turned out completely different and I ended up loving it. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm just kind of slapping like some olive green and some sap greens. You don't really need it to be dark or anything. You want it to be kind of on the lighter side. It doesn't have to be smooth or anything. Okay, my paper's already buckling, but that's okay. Now I'm going to take my size 12 round and some darker green, so I can use maybe my hooker's green, whatever green you have. And I'm just going to be painting some like loose leaf shapes. Okay, they can be big, they can be small. And because we're doing wet on wet, it's going to be very kind of blurry, blending into each other. You don't even really want it to be like specific shapes or types of leaves. Just lay some paint on there and see what happens. I'm gonna grab some olive green. You can just do like little flicks, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be anything specifically. This is not really the main part of the painting. This is just kind of a blurry background. You can have a little bit of darkness in there if you want. Keep it fairly light. You don't want it too dark because we are going to be layering some other stuff on, or other leaves and stuff on there later. You're just kind of creating this very green, loose background. Okay? This is very simple painting that you can really practice your leaves with and just have fun. Okay, so now we're going to let this all dry and then we'll come right back. Okay, so now that it's dry, now we're going to have fun and just do a lot of practice leaves. So when you're doing this, I want you to just kind of release pressure of it having to be, a specific layout or specific leaves. And I just want you to let go. I want you to focus on movement and curves and just playing around with different leaf shapes. So I'm going to start by using my dagger brush because I find dagger brushes really fun for this. And I'm going to grab some darker green. You know what I actually might do? So I might grab some indigo. because I think it just mixes really nicely. And do some darker green leaves. And I'm starting with the curved side down, just the tip, and I'm just going to kind of come up, apply pressure, moving the back around, kind of wiggle it around, twist it, and just kind of let it do its thing, okay? This is just a lot of fun to practice. So you start with that tip to get the really thin line. Maybe I'll wash it off a bit so it's not so saturated. And then you move, when you want that thicker line, you move that back touch down, kind of curve the back around, and then lift up to the tip, and you get these really cool shapes. Okay, I'm going to do it again, and this is just so much fun to practice. Okay, you can even grab some other colors, like I've been enjoying putting brown in my leaves. Maybe some of the olive green mixing in there. But I really enjoy this kind of twisty look. You can always draw with the tip of your brush, like that. And it just looks really fun and just looks really cool. I'm going to wet up some of my brown. I also have, what other color did I have? Like a darker brown, maybe. I have this kind of reddy orange color. Paynes gray looks really nice. And you can always just go into your brown and just kind of tap it into some of the wet areas. We could just even do some brown leaves if you want. Again, just playing with it, twist it, see what kind of shapes you can make. I'm gonna grab some Paynes gray. I just think it looks really cool. And you don't have to wait for the other leaves to be dried completely. You can overlap them, play with them, have them bleed together. Okay, I have a lot of dark ones. I want to do some light ones. I'm going to grab some sap green. Oops, that's a lot of paint I just dropped there. So I'm just going to use it. Grab some darker green. Tap it in there. Another thing I've been really enjoying is kind of just like outlining some of the leaves. I've seen a couple different artists do that, like Sarah Cray, Christy Rice sometimes does that. It just looks really cool. So, you know, play around, see what works, see what you like. Let's switch to my smaller one. Okay. Oh, my husband's saying, no way. I was like, oh, who's yelling at? I have my small dagger here. These are just so fun to use. And they do take practice, so this is a really great practice piece to kind of use to practice your leaves and use your dagger brush. More blue in this. And darkness. And then you can even do, if you want, you can do traditional leaves too. You don't have to do these ones that I'm doing. You can, you know, just do a stem and just do your typical leaf shapes, just light pressure, heavy pressure, light pressure. With the dagger brush, I'm moving like to the side to get this shape, and then up. I want some brown in there. I love brown and blue together. Maybe a couple brown leaves down here. I think we need some brown at the top as well. Grab some of that blue. that. I'm going to do some lighter ones too. Let's do some lighter ones with just our regular little round brush here. You know, like I said, you can overlap. And just create this like jungly piece. You know, have some that are a lot lighter, so you get this see-through kind of layered look, which looks really cool. If it's not done drying, you can have them blending in together. Just mix everything in my palette, see what happens. And this is just a really calming exercise to do. That's a lot of fun, but also gives you a lot of great practice with your leaves or different brushes. If you haven't used a dagger brush before, you need more practice with it. It's a lot of fun. Do some little leaves if you want. Change up the colors. Have like a really shaky hand, so it just looks really kind of natural, non-structured lines. And then I think I might take a smaller brush, my size 2, and I'm going to grab some of my dark perylene green, and I'm just going to go over some of these leaves and just give them a little bit of an outline. Maybe some lines on them, why not? You could even do just an outlined one. Just an outline of a leaf with some veins on it. This piece is just really something to play around with and be creative. And if you don't end up liking what you do this time, keep it and maybe pick it up later on, like I did. And then it turns into something maybe you do like, or an idea. Okay, I think I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to do some more outlines on some of the other leaves. Okay, so let's let this dry for a second. Okay, now that that's dry, I'm just going to go back in again with our darker color. Maybe I'll use indigo for some of the outlines. Why not? Just to have a little bit of blue. Just go over some of these leaf shapes. Just do some outlines. I like to try and make them look curvy and jagged, so they're not so smooth. And just pick out leaves that you think could use some sort of outline. Or like I said with this one, just create an outline without any specific leaves there. I don't know. I like it. It's a lot of fun. And it's such a relaxing painting to do. So one thing I feel like I might get asked is, how do you know when you're done? How do you not overwork a painting? The thing is that this is an exercise, and it doesn't have to be like a full finished painting. Like if you want to keep going just because it's therapeutic and fun to do, keep going. And then maybe you'll learn something or do something you really like that you can recreate in a piece where you try this again. It does not have to be your final piece. Just have fun with it. So that's kind of my advice, is just play until you don't want to play anymore. Like I could keep going and keep going. I think if I did keep going, I would start maybe lighter and then just keep building up darker. A lot of this is pretty dark. I don't know if I could go and do too much more to it, but just have fun with it. And there you go. That is kind of our fun practice leaf abstract fun painting today. I know you guys love my words. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it. So let's take off the tape and see what this looks like. I always love a good border. And there you go. Thank you everyone for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.